We have spent the last week and a half talking about context clues of all different kinds. The first few were super simple. It's where the writer actually hands us the definition, and we really like it when they do that. We learn to use definitions that they give us in the sentence. We learn to use pictures to get clues from there. We learned how to use appositives, which, if you remember, is just when the author gives us the definition, but they put a comma before and after, or just after if it starts the sentence. So those are three ways they just say, here's what it means. Let me just give it to you, which is super nice, right? Hardly any brain power necessary. Then we had to just kind of dust off our brain for a second and look at when they give us synonyms and we think, okay, so I know what that word means. And if it means the same thing, then all right, I get this word. Again, not a lot of brain power required. Then we had to really get the cobwebs out of our brains because then we had to do antonyms. If you recall, antonyms are words that mean the opposite or the anti-word. And that required some two-step thinking. We had to think about, okay, so what does the antonym mean? And if this word means the opposite of this, then what is the opposite of this? What's another word for the opposite of this? It was like we had to supply our own synonym. Not super hard, but did require the brain to work. After antonyms, we looked at examples. And so when given a word we don't know, but given examples of that word, we had to think about those words and what they had in common. A little trickier because sometimes words have more than one thing in common, and we have to figure out what makes sense in the sentence. So it's a whole lot of whole brain thinking there. Finally, one of my favorites is just using inferences, paying attention to all the words around you. The example that I gave in class that you didn't get if you got the video, I'm going to give you now, just as a quick reminder of inferences. I'm going to tell you a story, and I want you to think, what in the world is she talking about? This is the story I always use when we talk about inferences. Okay, so way back when we used to go to restaurants, remember that before coronavirus? Yeah, those were good times. Way back then, I went to a restaurant and there was a back room in this restaurant. You could still see into it. It was just a separate place. And in this room, there were all these people and they were sitting around this big table and they had like pointy hats on. And there was a table behind them. And on that table behind them, there were all these boxes and they were all different colors. I was like, okay, that's fine. And then this person who works for the restaurant brought out a cake, but the cake was on fire. And for some reason, she set that cake, even though it was on fire, down on the table in front of a kid. Nobody at the table seemed alarmed. They seemed quite happy. In fact, they started singing. And when they were done singing, the kid did the weirdest thing. The kid like spit on the cake, and then everybody clapped and cheered. Do you know what was happening? I wish I could hear your answers. Yeah, what was happening is a birthday party. But pay attention. I never said the word birthday, and I never said the word party. But there were a whole lot of clues, and you made inferences. Because, see, you've all had a birthday. And chances are, in your 10, 11, 12 years on this planet, you have had a birthday party for yourself. You've gone to somebody's birthday party. You've seen a birthday party in a movie. You've seen a birthday party on a TV show. You've read about a birthday party in a book. At least one of those things has happened in your lifetime. I feel quite certain. So let's look at our clues. So it's in the back part of a restaurant, which we know is sometimes that's where birthday parties take place. They're all wearing pointy hats. What are they? Party hats. Okay, little birthday hats, the kind with the rubber bands that break and then pop you in the face when you're done. They're great fun. Um, and then they had a table full of different colored boxes. Okay, birthday presents. And then somebody who worked at the restaurant brought a cake and it was on fire. Candles. And then the kid spit on the cake. The kid blew out the candles. It's a young kid you should watch because sometimes they spit on the cake. And everybody sang a song, Happy Birthday, and cheered because everybody was happy. You could tell me about the birthday cake. You could tell me about candles. You could tell me about party hats. You could tell me about a birthday song. You could tell me about gifts. And I never used the word birthday in my story. That's what making inferences was all about. And that's why I gave you sentences with nonsense words, because I wanted you to rely only on the clues in the sentences. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Today, we're mostly going to rely on the word itself. Let me show you what I mean. All right, this is context clues based on word parts, so you're going to have to use your whole brain today. We're going to do some real thinking. Not only are you going to have to do some real thinking, you're going to start thinking less like detectives and more like surgeons, because today we're going to be taking the words that we're trying to figure out, and more than just, we're still going to pay attention to the sentence they're in, because we need it to make sense. But more than looking at those clues, we're actually going to be surgeons who take the word apart and look at all the parts of the word. Let me show you what I mean here. So we're going to be looking at words that have a prefix, some of them. Some have a suffix. They all have a root word. That's what makes them words. And we have to figure out what each part means to help decipher what the whole word means. We do this every day, really without even realizing that we're doing it, because we just have our own language ingrained in us. Let's just look at the word disrespectful for a second. Disrespectful has a prefix and a suffix. So we can divide it into all three parts. What's the prefix in disrespectful? Remember that pre comes before. When you go to the movies, the previews come before the movie. It's because you view it before. Okay? So in this word, dis is our prefix. Dis. Okay? And so then we need to look at what's the main word in disrespectful. Well, the main word is respect. That's the word that will stand alone all by itself. I already hear some of you saying, but full is a word. Sure it is, when it has two L's, but it doesn't have two L's here. Here it's a suffix, full. Now we need to look at what each of those parts means. When I use dis, it means not. We can agree or we can do the opposite and not agree. Disagree, right? I can appear or I can do the opposite. I can disappear. I can be respectful or I can do the opposite and not be respectful or disrespectful. Okay, so dis is not. Suffix here is full. Now, this is really tricky, so listen carefully. The suffix full actually means full. Think you can remember that? I think you can. FUL means full of. Okay, so disrespectful means you're not full of respect. Now, we have to know what respect means, and respect means I have feelings or I am showing you actions of admiration. I'm doing things that show that I hold you in high regard or high esteem. I admire you. So if I'm not full of feelings of actions or admiration, then I'm being disrespectful. I'm not showing that I admire you. Let's look at fearless. Fearless doesn't have a prefix because the root word is fear. Nothing comes before it. And fear just means to be afraid or to show that you're afraid. Less is quite the opposite of full. Less means without. So if I am without fear, then I am fearless. Are you kind of getting what we're doing here? It's not tricky. We just have to pay attention to the word parts. And sometimes we have to look up word parts because we don't always know what those mean. For example, let's look at this word, biography. Bio. Think about biology. Biology is the study of life. A biome is the space in which you live. So bio means life. Anything with the suffix that has graph or graphy on it means writing. So an autograph is somebody's signature. They're writing. So a biography is writing about somebody's life, their bio. So here we have biography again, the writing about somebody's life, but here it's auto. Well, think about things that are automatic or your automobile. You don't have to push it down the road. It powers itself. If it's automatic, it does it itself. So auto is about it yourself. So if I have an autobiography, it's the writing about myself, my life. Okay. Let's go back to autograph. The graph is the writing part. Auto is yourself. So it's yourself writing. It's your signature. It's your name for autograph. Last week we talked about aviary and aviation. Aviary was a bird enclosure. Aviation was flying related activities like um, flying in a plane, flying in a helicopter, flying a drone. So we already talked about how avia here means flying. Here we have the OR ending on the end. So think about, we have teach or teacher, right? Um, a person who does carpentry is a carpenter. A person who plumbs your lines or works on your water lines at your house is a plumber. If we have that OR or ER ending, it's a person who. So a person who aviates is a person who flies. Here's some examples of being without, having the less ending. We already did fearless. I'm without fear. Careless, I didn't take care. Wireless, your computer gets on the Wi-Fi without any wires. It's happening in the air somehow. If you're powerless, you have no power. You're without power. And then quite the opposite, you can be full of. You can be without or you can be full of. So fearful, I'm full of fear. Careful, I'm full of care. I take great care in what I'm doing. If I'm respectful, I'm full of respect. And if I'm powerful, then I have all the power. Things with an ABLE or an IBLE ending mean you are able to. So like edible means I'm able to eat it. Washable, I'm able to wash it. I have the ability to be responsible here. Okay, think you're getting it? Now, some things we have to learn, like you have to learn that bio means life. But think about shapes and geometry, right? You've already talked about a quadrilateral. Quad means what? Four. Triangle. Tri means what? Three. I know that because a triangle has three sides. My tricycle had three wheels. A triceratops has three horns. Tri means three. A tripod has three legs. You're a biped. Did you know that? A tripod has three legs. A biped has two legs. If you're bilingual, lingual means language. And if you're bilingual, it means you speak two languages. Um, if you have something that's biannual, it's 2 years. Actually, there's an argument. It could be every 2 years or twice in 1 year. We're not going to get into that. An octagon and an octopus. Both of those things. An octopus has how many tentacles? 8. An octagon has how many sides? 8. Are you understanding what we're doing here? We're just taking words apart and seeing what they mean. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go to your, you're going to continue, if you're watching this, you're going to continue on the same sheet, do the context clues, and it should say word parts right there. Oh, and now it does say word parts. So you're going to go to, you're now going to complete the word parts assignment for today, but I want to show that to you. And here it is. So you need to type your name. You're going to pay attention, as always, to the word in capital letters. So we were grateful for all the help we received. Well, we know this full means it's going to be full of, but you're not full of greats, right? That's weird. And you have to think about the meaning of this word. I'm getting a lot of help, so I'm full of greatness. I'm getting a lot of help, so I'm full of gratitude. Gratitude means you're so thankful. I'm getting a lot of help, so I'm full of care. No, I'm not full of help. That would be helpful. I'm grateful. I'm full of gratitude. Some of them can be tricky. Some of them are not. Preview. Reorganize. What does re mean? If I have to redo a test, that means I'm going to take the test again. I think you are going to do great on this, especially if you listened, because I gave away a lot of these answers when I was doing this video. You're welcome. One other word I want to talk to you about, and one thing I want to point out, if you get to a word you don't know, think about other words that have the same prefix and what they mean. So there's a word today you might not know, and it has the prefix sub, sub. I want you to think about two words here, submarine and subway. Now, we don't have either of those here in Sylvan, but I think you know what they are. Where does a subway go? Both of those things transport people, a submarine and a subway. Where? Well, a submarine goes under the water, right? It's a boat that travels under the water, not on top of the water. A subway is a train system, but where does it go? Under the ground. So what do you think sub means? Under, right? So if you watch the whole 15 minutes of this video, that's a prize. The last word on here is submerged. And you know now that sub means under. So go check that out. All right. If you have any questions or need any help, email me. Okay? All right. Thanks.